With a series like BlazBlue being of Japanese origin, obviously, a bunch of things do get lost in translation along the way when the game becomes localized and then translated. It isn't, too difficult to see why. Sometimes it's understandable, sometimes I just don't know. I'm not too versed in the Japanese language myself. I never actually been bothered to go through the BlazBlue series entirely in Japanese. And my Japanese isn't that very good, but I do understand when some things get lost in translation when coming over to overseas or being translated or whatnot. The Kokuujin series is one of those examples. If you don't know the Kokuujin series, you may know it as the Empty Sky form series of moves used by Hakumen and Jin. So today I'm going to go over how the name Kokuujin what it means and how it got lost in translation along the way over here, overseas, through translation. So as I said before, both of Jin and Hakumen's attacks, the Kokuujin, or known in the English localization, Empty Sky form, is slightly different between Hakumen and Jin with the change of the kanji at the end of Kokuujin. For, example's sake, let's just use Kokuujin Yukikaze as an example, since Jin and Hakumen share the move, or as we know it in the English version. With Hakumen, the kanji for Kokuujin Yukikaze is broken down as such. Ko means empty, Ku basically means sky or void, either one's fine. Jin means formation or array, and Yukikaze means snow wind. The kanji for the Jin part, as I said before, means formation or array. So when Hakumen when he says empty sky form in the English version, that's basically a pretty accurate translation for Kokuujin right there. Now in the case of Jin, the kanji for Kokuujin Yukikaze is broken down as such. Empty, ko, sky or void, ku. This time the kanji is different. Instead of being formation or array, the last kanji in the name Kokuujin actually stands for blade. So basically in this case, instead of being empty sky or void formation or array, let's just use empty sky array or something like that. Basically in Jin's case, it will be said as empty sky or void blade instead. So technically, basically Jin's version of the Kokuujin is supposed to basically be empty sky blade instead of Hakumen's empty sky form. You see what I mean here? This wasn't really it didn't translate well over when it came over to the States. Well, not the States, but like translation in general. It didn't translate well over, so that's why we got empty sky form, just to match with Hakumen. But in actuality, Jin's Kokuujin is supposed to be empty sky blade. So because the last part of the Kokuujin, Jin technically means blade, because Jin's name is supposed to mean blade. He uses swords, yada yada. So it doesn't carry over well, which that kind of sucks. And it applies to Jin anyway, being associated with Blaze because of Yukiyanasa. His name also could have come from the word blade, so that's also another little fun fact trivia if you didn't know that. Which, it seems obvious for those who know Japanese, but still. Okay, going off tangent for a little bit. Keep in mind that most of the BlazBlue characters' names are written in katakana. Well, some of the playable ones at least. Naoto is kind of an exception, really, because his last name Kurogane comes. Basically, they say Kurogane Naoto when they refer to Naoto. Now, the thing about it is his name kind of flip-flops between whether they're talking about Bloodedge Experience Naoto or Naoto as we know in the BlazBlue world. Now, in BlazBlue standards, since he's playable BlazBlue, his name goes. It basically flip-flops. In BBTAG, I'm using BBTAG as an example, he is Naoto Kurogane, name written in katakana like everyone else. But referring back to stuff like Central Fiction, his name is written out as Kurogane Naoto. So with the kanji since Kurogane is in kanji, that comes first because he's not from this world. That's how they differentiate his name. They call him Kurogane before they call him Naoto. But since he's fully integrated himself into the BlazBlue world, now in BBTAG he is known as Naoto Kurogane. You see what I mean here? So it's kind of like how he's from his own world where basically it's basically the real world. That's why their Japanese names come first. And yeah, so going back to Jin, yeah, despite Jin's name being in Japanese, his name is written katakana like every other character in BlazBlue. It makes it a lot easier because not every character in the BlazBlue world, like the whole BlazBlue world, is not like a Japanese world, obviously, and that's why everyone's name is written in katakana for easier reading. Which is, I love to read katakana. It's a lot easier to read kanji, man, because there's so many different meanings for me. Unless I'm reading hiragana, but that's a different story for now. And another character who is an exception to this rule, and he's an actual exception, is Jubei, because his name is based on the famous one-eyed samurai Yagyu Jubei Mitsuyoshi. Albeit with the first kanji and Yagyu's Jubei's name, Ju part, basically meaning the number 10, or there's that little cross right there, is replaced by another kanji. Slipping off for just a little bit more, if Jin was actually from Japan, like real world Japan, or even from the Bloodedge Experience, maybe Bloodedge Experience, the Bloodedge Experience world. And Kisaragi, his last name Kisaragi means February. It's supposed to tie with the dual deaths of members being named after months. Musuki means January, Kisaragi means February, Yayoi means March, Uzuki means April, like, it's so on and so forth. And his name, basically, he would be, in this kanji, it would be Kisaragi Jin, instead of Jin Kisaragi, or how it's like written like this in katakana in the BlazBlue world. This is a different topic, but I'm going off track here just to might as well cover all my bases with being lost. This is not really a lost in translation thing anymore, but I just wanted to go off tangent for a bit. I'm still going to continue to go off tangent because I actually want to finish off this video. Oh my god. Another thing I like to bring up is Hakumen's favorite "The End Has Come" speech, and I thought it was interesting to bring up right about now since I'm already doing this. So the first part of his speech in Japanese, he goes "Ware wa ku, ware wa ko, ware wa jin," or in kanji, this I put it on the screen. Now, did you notice the kanji in the "ware wa jin" part? Hakumen basically translates to "I am Jin," or in this case, well, how he translated over to I am the just sword, but in this case, he's basically saying I am blade in this case, because the kanji, every time he says a speech, it's because of the kanji every time he says a speech, I am blade, or basically as I am Jin. You see what I mean? And it will sound iffy in English, so they basically changed the I am the just sword, so that just, makes it sound less weird. But the funny thing about it is when Hakumen, the very first time Hakumen introduces himself in Calamity Trigger, he does the speech. In the Japanese version, he pretty much outright says, I am Jin. I mean, we already know that Hakumen becomes Jin, and, in Calamity Trigger, through to piece together one of the endings. So basically he says he's basically telling others that he is Jin every time he fights, or at least brings up the chant. That's funny to think about, because he's basically saying, "Oh, I am Jin" every time he does that speech. I mean, it doesn't. As I said, this is another lost in translation thing. It doesn't translate well, so that's why I had to change it. Oh, I'm the just sword, because, because Jin means blade. So, yeah, that's another thing I like to bring up. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was interesting. It's just like, oh, I am Jin, I am the sword, I am blade, I am, you know what I mean. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about, guys. I'm gonna see you all next time. Have a great night, day, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Peace out.